Hello. Today I want to talk about timing. Timing in this sense is just a method that we use to estimate how long it's going to take us to walk somewhere. It's a really important skill. In fact, it's one of the fundamental skills. Everybody going out walking in the hills and mountains should know how to calculate how long it will take them to arrive at their destination or some other point. As an example, I'm at this track wall junction with this gate with one of the most famous hills in England behind me. That's Ingleborough if you're not from this area. So I'm going to walk across this field to the next junction, and I need to know how long it's going to take me. So I'll have a look at my map. I'll drop this onto your screen so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm here and I want to walk to there, so I can see that it's 550 meters. Now 550 meters, walking at approximately, it's quite a flat field, so walking at approximately 4 kilometers an hour, that's going to take me 8.5 minutes. And that's what this video is about, to show you the simplest method of working that out for yourself. Timing can be used in conjunction with other navigation skills. As an example, I've just checked my map and my compass, and I know that when I leave here I should be heading due east. Halfway down the track it should change to a bearing of 110 degrees, and when I arrive at the wall it should be running at approximately 26 degrees. So that way I'll know that it's my wall and not one of the other many walls in this area. So here I am at the wall junction. It's not a gate this time, it's a stile. Now that took me 8 minutes 15, so I was obviously walking slightly faster than 4k an hour, but it was a relatively easy track, so a little bit faster. Is this my wall? Let's have a quick check. Don't forget I said it should be running at 26 degrees. Yeah, it is exactly. So we've seen that timing works over short distances. Now, one of the major differences between pacing and timing, oh by the way, if you haven't watched the video I did last week about pacing, just have a quick look at that when you've got time. As I said, one of the major differences between pacing and timing is that pacing is really for short distances, a few hundred meters at most. Timing can be used for a full day out in the hills, you know. So let's go and have a look at an example of how you would use timing over a much larger distance. I've just walked over this mountain, so I'm parked my car at the other side of in the pub car park. Now this is a very common situation. I need to now work out, do I have enough time in the daylight that I've got left to be able to walk back over the mountain to where my car is? Or is there a quicker route that I can take? Let me drop this onto your screen, so I'll put the map on your screen so you know what I'm talking about. At the moment I'm here and I've parked my car in this pub car park here. So I need to work out how long it's going to take me to get back to the car. Also, I want to know if it'd be quicker to walk directly to the car park from here in a straight line, or walk around the base of the mountain. There's no way around this. You are going to have to work it out or calculate it. If you've not done this sort of thing before, then it may seem complicated, but after you've practiced it a few times, you'll realize that the aim is to keep it really simple. Some people can do maths in their head, other people prefer to use the calculator on their mobile phone. So whatever's best for you, that's fine. Now also remember, the vast majority of time you only have to do this once, so you won't be getting your calculator out every time you go walking. You know, once you know your average walking speed, that should do for most terrain types. And don't forget, the idea is not to overcomplicate it, so we need to break it down into really simple steps. Let's say, for example, that you know that you always walk at 1 kilometer per hour. So this means that after you've walked for half an hour, you'll have moved 500 meters. You see, we're keeping it really simple. Obviously, there are a few things wrong with that scenario of 1 kilometer an hour. Firstly, hardly anybody walks at 1 kilometer an hour when they're walking over the countryside. Next, nobody ever walks at the same speed all the time. It just doesn't happen. And lastly, most obviously, the ground isn't always flat. When you're walking out in the hills, it's normally either going up or down. There are very few flat bits. So instead of guessing what speed we walk at, it's a much better idea to time ourselves over a 100-meter distance and then use that to work out our speed in kilometers an hour. So the first thing we need to do is walk 100 meters at our normal pace, which will be slower than you actually think it is, and then time how long that takes. If you're not sure how to find out how far 100 meters is, then you can watch the video that I made last week about pacing, and that'll show you how to do that. As I'm only going to do this once, I'll walk the 100-meter distance a few times and then do that again on different terrain just to make sure. I timed myself over that 100-meter distance quite a few times, and it averages out at 1 minute 12 seconds or 72 seconds. To convert this into kilometers per hour is simple on a calculator. It's just 0.1 divided by the seconds that you walked over the 100 meters times 3,600. So in this case, 0.1 divided by 72 seconds times 3,600 equals 5 kilometers an hour. If I'd done the 100 meters in 2 minutes or 120 seconds, that would be 3 kilometers an hour. 4 minutes, that's 240 seconds, 1.5 kilometers an hour. Don't forget to do your 100-meter distance on different types of terrain. I'm not talking about something too steep or or too rugged, but just slightly up, slightly down, just slightly uneven ground. But so do the 100-meter distances over quite a few different types of terrain, and then work out your average speed over 100 meters. Now I know exactly where I am because that's the entrance to the Longchurn cave system. So let's have another look at the map and see what we're going to do about getting back to my car. From here, as you can see, in a straight line, if we measure it, it's 3.5 kilometers to the car park. If I walk around the base of the mountain, it's 5 kilometers. At my speed, I know it's 5 kilometers per hour. So to go in a straight line for 3.5 kilometers will take me 42 minutes. And if I go round the base of the mountain, because it's 5 kilometers and I walk at 5 kilometers an hour, it will take me 1 hour. But that is assuming that the entire route is going to be flat. But of course, most terrain up in the hills isn't flat. It's either going up or it's going down. I'm here at the entrance to Longchurn, which is on the 360 contour line, and if I walk in a straight line, I'll need to go over the 540 contour line. So the total rise will be 180 meters. Now, not only do I walk further if I'm going up a slope, I also walk slower. So I'll add 1 minute per contour line, or every 10 meters. So then a straight line route will take 42 minutes for the distance. There's a 180 meter rise, so I'll add 18 minutes. So that gives me a total of 60 minutes, so 1 hour. If I go in a straight line, it will take 1 hour. As I'll also be walking slower going down the other side of the slope, as it's quite steep, I'll add a few more minutes, say another 10 minutes, just give me time to get down the steep bit. So it will actually take me longer to go in a straight line than to go round, because it will take me an hour to go round and it will take me 1 hour 10 minutes to go in a straight line. I'm back on this side of the mountain now. It took me a while. I didn't actually come over the top of Ingleborough. I came over Souther Fell, which is the col that you can see behind me. Hopefully you can see it, between Ingleborough and Park Fell. Anyway, a couple of points just to finish this off. If you've not done timing, you're not used to dealing with timing, then all this can seem quite complicated. But if you break it down into easy, manageable steps, then you'll soon get the hang of it. So the first thing to do, don't forget, time yourself walking over a 100-meter distance, and do that quite a few times on different types of terrain. Next, use your mobile phone calculator to transfer that 100-meter time up to a kilometers per hour. You need to add 1 minute for every 10 meters of rise. The reason for that is quite simple. Not only do you walk further when you're going uphill, you also walk slower. So add 1 meter for every 10 meters that you go up. If you're coming down something really steep, you may want to add something, a little bit of extra time. But if it's just a reasonably flat area, then you know, you can walk at the same speed, so I wouldn't bother. So last bit, when you're working out how long it's going to take you to walk quite some distance, don't forget to add in extra time for rest. You need to stop and have a cup of coffee and a sandwich. You know, you're not just going to keep trudging on all day, so add some rest time in when you're trying to calculate your overall walking times. So there you go, a video about timing without mentioning Naismith's rule. Naismith's rule, that's a completely different video. I'll do that when I've got time. Anyway, hopefully you now understand what timing is in a hill walking and trekking sense. So thanks for watching. If you look at this, this is actually a really interesting wall. I know it just looks like a pile of stones, but it's if you know what to look for, you know, you go around the countryside and you can pick things up. The way to look at this is between the 12th century and I think it was 1536 when Henry VIII dissolved the monasteries. If it wasn't 1536, then somebody will tell me. Anyway, between about the 12th century and 1530 something, like a lot of England, this area was owned by the monasteries. This particular bit was owned by Furness Abbey, and this is one of their walls. This is one of the original 12th and 13th century walls, and it's still stood here after all these years. How amazing is that? You can tell that because it's known as, it's a wide double top, sorry, a wide top double. If you look, can you see these bits that are sticking out of this bit here? They jut out from the wall. All dry stone walls of this area, they're a cubit wide. A cubit is the distance between a man's elbow and the tip of your middle finger, so that's how wide they were. Except for the top stones, they jut out. And the reason they jut out is it's to stop wolves getting over, sort of scampering up the wall, and it would have been a bit neater than this. Anyway, it's to stop wolves jumping over the wall to get the sheep on the other side. That's what this is for, these little bits. The story that used to be told in English schools is that the last wolf was killed in a place called Humphrey Head, which is just near Morecambe Bay in the northwest of it, top northwest of England. There were still wolves in Scotland for at least 200 years after that. But in this area, because there were no wolves after about the 14th, 15th century, they stopped doing this. So you can tell newer wolves. What they did is they came up with a different design, and it was called a narrow double top. So it was actually thinner than this. It was still a double, so it was still two stacks of stones with an infill in between it. But instead of being a wide double top, it was a narrow double top. So they're less than a cubit wide, and you can spot them because on the top of them they tend to have the stones, flat stones, lying. They lie against each other, and that's how they stay in place. If it was a three-quarter wall, by the way, it wouldn't be made of two stacks of stones. It's actually made of one stack, but the stones are quite long, and so they would go from one side of the wall to the other. This is just waffle, isn't it? It's got nothing at all to do with timing when you're navigating. So I'll cut all this out, but anyway, so this is a really interesting wall because of these little things here. This proves that it's a medieval wall, sort of 12th or 13th century. How amazing. Now I will be deleting this, no one will ever see it.